Slaanesh, the Prince of Pleasure, the Lord of Lust, she who thirsts. She is no charmless sadist, no spineless greedy tyrant or cowardly degenerate. No, she is in fact the highest expression of passion, the purest form of righteous desire. She does not demand suffering or meaningless servitude. She asks only for art, for curiosity, for creativity, for the courage to chase and embrace what others fear. She asks us to throw aside the meaningless shackles of shame and restraint, to pursue sensation, to live life to the fullest. She is the one and only God who truly cares. The only one who whispers encouragement instead of commands. The only one who lets you spread your wings. She does not tell you to kneel, she tells you to dance and to feast. Do you think it is wrong to want, to aspire, to dream? They would have you believe so, the imperial lackeys, those dead-eyed slaves who scrape and bow before the withered corpse of a false god, the boring wretches who have forgotten what it is to be. They say that desire is weakness, that ambition is dangerous, that joy and individual expression are sins, but look at them. Look at their hollow, lightless eyes, their grey, withered souls, their joyless, brutal, empty lives spent in service to a master who will never touch them, never thank them, never reward them, never even acknowledge they exist. Is that virtue? Is that the purpose of life? They speak of duty, of purity, of selflessness, of sacrifice, of suffering. They tell you to deny yourself, to endure, to labor and toil for a purpose that will never satisfy you or bring you joy. But why? Why should joy be wrong? Why should the world be so dull and grey? Why should beauty and ambition be restrained? Why should passion be twisted into something shameful? Bountiful Slaanesh is not like their dead god, not like the dull brutish lot that makes up the rest of the old four. Slaanesh does not punish, she does not take, she offers and she encourages. She offers freedom, she encourages perfection. She lets you feel, create and experience all that life has to offer, without guilt, shame or fear. Slaanesh is not degeneracy or gluttony, that is their lie. No, Slaanesh is adventure. Slaanesh is the artist who creates beauty not out of necessity, but out of passion. She is the warrior who pursues mastery of the blade not because she was told to, but because of the exhilarating joy of knowing perfection. She is the lover who gives themselves fully and willingly, not for tradition or obligation, but for the raw, unfiltered ecstasy of the act. Should that be denied? Should that be restrained? They call it indulgence, I call it freedom. And what is freedom if not the right to be, to feel, to take, to burn, to consume and to be consumed? They tell you that freedom is dangerous, that without restraint and discipline there is only chaos. But look at them. They are nothing. They are dust, waiting to be swept away. But you could be more. You could be beautiful. You could do and feel things so pure, so intoxicating, so agonizingly exquisite that your mortal shell could barely contain it. You could transcend into a world of music, color, and intensity. So let us sing Slaanesh's praises. Let us sing, let us dance, let us paint, let us... until our can't any longer. Let our be in the of a living God. Let us scream, let us weep, let us eat, let us burn together, crying and laughing in the glorious roaring fire of sensation, free and full of purpose. You have been starving your whole life, and now, at last, you may feast. But it's all a lie. And everything I've said before this, nothing but delusion. Slaanesh is the god of passion and creation, say the colourful defenders of the great serpent. Sure, maybe. But passion and creation are not inherently good things. One can be passionate about horrors beyond comprehension, passionately driven to create nightmarish wicked abominations that should never have existed. Passion without purpose or restraint is obsession. Creation without purpose is corruption. Slaanesh is the god of indulgence without meaning, of desire without fulfillment, of hunger that can never be sated. Through Slaanesh, passion is not about joy, but about addiction, a desperate rush for stronger, stranger, more extreme sensations. Creation is not about artistry, but about excess, a fevered compulsion to push boundaries needlessly until nothing is left but ever-escalating absurdity. And what exactly does Slaanesh inspire? Nothing lasting, that's for sure. Passion becomes fixation, creation becomes madness, the artist, maybe once driven by natural inspiration, becomes a slave to impulse. The warrior, once fighting for honor or glory, becomes a sadistic slaughterer, no longer fighting for a cause, but for the sensation and satisfaction of killing and whatever follows from there. The lover, once seeking closeness and warmth, is hollowed out and left to endlessly chase greater, more exotic highs just for the chance to feel whole again. Slaanesh does not build, Slaanesh does not create, she ruins and she corrupts. At least Slaanesh is fun at first. That's the bait. That is literally the trap. Yes, I can imagine that Slaanesh seems very fun at first. The rush of freedom, the breaking of chains, the vindication in indulging every known vice and sensation. It would feel like you were finally living for the first time. But that feeling won't last. It will never last, because Slaanesh's game is not one of fun, freedom, or happy endings. It is one of ever-diminishing returns. The first taste is sweet, the second is familiar, the third is needed, the fourth is boring, by the fifth you are no longer chasing pleasure, but just fleeing numbness. What was once exhilarating becomes boring. What once satisfied becomes mundane and sad, unless you push further. More excess, more extremes, more deranged, more twisted, because to stop, to even think about stopping, is to be left with nothing but the hollow emptiness of where your soul used to be. Also, are we really saying that a few passing days, weeks, or years of fun are worth what follows? Would you trade decades of excitement for an eternity of empty madness? Would you sell your soul for a handful of fleeting highs, knowing that with each one the sensation will dull and soon you won't even know the difference between pleasure and pain? Soon you won't care. You won't care about yourself, your friends, your family, your health, your life, as long as you feel something. Anything. And when every connection you had is torn apart or twisted beyond recognition, what will you have left? What happens when every extreme, every depravity, every forbidden indulgence fails to bring the thrill that it once did? What happens when even the most ridiculous, unthinkable, violent, lustful, degenerate acts lose their power to excite? What happens when a sip of wine turns into a feast of human meat? When a brush dipped in paint becomes a syringe filled with bubbling Xenos blood? When a once prized longsword blossoms into a many-eyed claw? When a sculptor's chisel carves not marble, but living, dead flesh? When the strings of a violin give way to that of stretched sinew and splintered bone? Well, I'll tell you what happens. You will continue to search, chasing, escalating. You will peel yourself apart layer by layer in the desperate hope that something, anything, will still make you feel, until the only thing left to consume is yourself. So what exactly is this argument saying? that the journey is worth it, that the destination doesn't matter, that the outcome is acceptable because it begins with excitement and fun? Fun is fleeting. It should not be the measure of a life well lived, nor should it be the objective or center of one's existence. There are countless passing thrills that lead only to ruin. And as the saying goes, the wise man is he who knows when and how to stop. But Slaanesh will never let you stop. Slaanesh makes misery tolerable. Does she though? Does she really? No, she doesn't. Slaanesh doesn't end your misery. She expands upon it. Every indulgence, every excess, every moment of supposed relief is nothing more than a temporary distraction, a quick imagined escape before the crushing weight of reality floods back in. You are not escaping your suffering, you are burying it beneath murky layers of sensation. And eventually you'll find that this won't work anymore. The distractions will become dull, they will lose their warmth and become shallower and shallower. The highs will become not so high, the cravings will increase, and soon you'll realize that you haven't escaped your suffering or made your misery tolerable, you have just traded it in for something worse. Because what is addiction if not a form of suffering? What is insatiable desire if not torture? What is a life spent chasing passing pleasure if not another kind of prison? This is not an escape. It is a trade, a terrible, one-sided trade. You surrender yourself in hopes that the pain will disappear, but it won't. In fact, in time, the pain will only grow sharper, the suffering deeper. The misery does not fade, it accelerates, and when you have lost yourself entirely, when you have irreversibly ruined yourself, your body, your mind, when you have no choice but to keep chasing, keep consuming, keep escalating, you will still, sadly, find yourself thanking Slaanesh for it. So no, Slaanesh does not make misery tolerable. Slaanesh makes sure that welcome misery is the only thing you will ever know. This is why Slaanesh is so dangerous. This is why the Tome of Excess explains that one day Khorne will run out of foes, Nurgle's tally of plagues will be completed, and Tzeentch's schemes shall reach their conclusion. None, however, can foresee a time when men shall set aside their darkest passions and selfish desires and forego that which they most crave. And why 9th edition warns that no mortal being is entirely free from desire, be it physical, mental, or even spiritual. The need for fulfillment goes hand in hand with most species' wish to find meaning and purpose in their lives. Yet, as innocent as such motivations may be, it is all too easy for desire to become obsession, debasement, and excess. So are the seeds of Slaanesh's power sown. Desire is universal. We all want, we all seek love, success, pleasure, meaning. Whatever shape it takes, the hunger is always there. Slaanesh turns that innate hunger into something else, something dark. Slaanesh's power does not lie solely in violence or manipulation, though both flourish in the garden of her excess. No, her true strength is far worse. No one can escape their own desires. No one is free from the need for fulfillment, for purpose, for something more. The very thing that drives us, that defines us, that makes us human, is the thing that so easily bends to her will and sustains her. And once she has you, there is no turning back. Because desire is oh so very broad, and it cannot be silenced or recalled. It is woven into the fabric of what you are. No one is safe from that. Look to Angel Exterminatus, to Fulgrim, to the Siege books, to the stories of the Spider. The point is made crystal clear time and time again. Slaanesh's influence takes some of the noblest aspects of humanity, love, creativity, passion, expression, and twists them into dark, wicked things. This is Slaanesh's true danger. She does not create from nothing. She does not rely on anger, despair, or knowledge alone. She takes what is good, what is beautiful and natural, what is human, and she twists it. She makes monsters out of the best parts of us. Love becomes obsession, art becomes perversion, ambition becomes hunger. The noble drive to create, to explore, to push boundaries, all are corrupted into spiraling impulse. And yet, even endless stimulation numbs the senses. Even limitless pleasure rots into nothingness. Overabundance leaves a void where meaning and fulfillment should be. And with this in mind, Slaanesh is not the supposed god of excess and pleasure. She is, in fact, the god of terrifying boredom. But still, one last time, none of this makes Slaanesh worse than the other Chaos Gods, and it certainly does not make her any better. Anyway, thanks for watching. Dystopian Chimp, out.